Hello my friends, let's go to the Bakhmut city, the hottest spot on the front lines, and there we have the movement of the Wagner forces. It was yesterday and it is today. As you can see, they advance from the north towards the railway, and also they're trying to advance from the south as well. According to the resources that I have, Wagners were able to penetrate the railroad to enter the residential area in this particular place. As for the Bakhmut, it has the big park over here in the central part of the city, and also these residential areas on the west side and on the north side over here. While the buildings there are not very high, mostly it's the private sector. The highest buildings are located over here. And for the Wagner PMC, it's a very hard task to move forward because Ukraine created the special defense lines, and every street in a city is now considered as the defense line. However, I do expect the fast advancement of the Wagner forces because they may take the park, and from the park they may spread their vectors to get control over the nearby residential areas. And the tactics for Russians is to destroy the most of the buildings on their way, because there could be the Ukrainian soldiers that will resist against their advancement. Today I saw the blog of one of the Ukrainian soldiers. He said that if Ukrainian army would have prepared the huge defense lines with armored vehicles like we did in Avdiivka, there would be no any advancement of the Wagner forces into the city. And about the possible encirclement of the Bakhmut city, Wagners got enough resources at first to encircle not only Bakhmut, but also cut this road from the supplies. But they were not acting very fast. That is why Ukraine was able to send the reinforcements, and Wagners just stack here on the north and here on the south. They are now unable to close this gap near to the Chasiv Yar and continue to fight in the city itself, trying to get the small victory by taking the city. But of course, the encirclement of the Ukrainian forces would be the huge success for the Wagner forces, but not this time. For now, it's too late and it will not happen. And now let's go to Avdiivka. It's not really far away, but Russia got devastated out there because they faced with the Ukrainian resistance that was much better prepared compared to the Bakhmut city. There was the intercepted call between the Russian soldiers, and they say between each other that they sent aviation over there. They continued to use artillery shells, but there is no any signs that they destroy something. With a very well prepared underground trenches, Ukrainian army may save lots of the lives of the soldiers. So then the Russian army goes on offensive. After artillery jab, they got many more losses. Just to remind you, Ukraine successfully moved towards this place, but for the recent 3 days there is no further movement. And there were no any movements on the other places of the front lines. That's why let's go to the latest updates and events. Okay, Prigozhin today said that the Ukrainian army is now ready for the counteroffensive that will happen somewhere. I expect it to be on the south part of Ukraine, and he says that Ukraine prepared around 200,000 soldiers for that particular mission, and also he said that there could be twice as many soldiers, around 400,000. And Prigozhin says that the Ukrainian army is waiting for the better weather to start the counteroffensive. According to the Institute of the War Researchers, the Russian advancement in Donbass slowed down, especially in Avdiivka and Marinka. I was really surprised that the Ukrainian army performed the counterattack maneuver in Marinka because that town was totally demolished. About the Bakhmut city, we understand that Russia got some success over there, but they were backed up by the Russian airborne divisions. So I predict that all of the Russian attacks in Donbass will just fade to dark without the new mobilization announcement in the Russian Federation. And Putin nowadays is really afraid to do it because the last year he lost lots of the points of his rating, and there were some riots inside the Russian Federation. And the next year is the election year for the Russian Tsar. Yes, in Russia they may put any number for the Putin on his rating, and after the elections he could become the president again, even with minority voted for his candidacy. But still, without the real major support from the Russian society, his power fades. and the risks for him to lose the power just after elections, not because of the people but because of the Russian elite, well, those risks are very high. Remember, Belarus was in riots after Lukashenko fake elections, but none from the Belarus elite supported the protesters, and in case of Russia, some forces from the Russian elite, maybe majority, will support those meetings, riots, and that could be a bloody coup with the power transition. Putin knows about that, and he doesn't want to make the Russian society more angry. The Russian people are already in a deep problem, in a deep shed because of the war that Putin started in Ukraine. This is the Bakhmut city nowadays. The footage was taken by the drone, so you can see that most of the buildings were devastated. It reminds Mariupol, but that is the Russian tactics. That is what they do. If they want to take the city and move forward in it, they use the aviation bombs, they use artillery against the constructions, eliminating any kind of the shelter for defending soldiers. And they use these tactics many times, also in Chechnya, in Grozny, the capital of that republic. It was totally demolished by the Russian army. And here we have the Russian map of the fortifications. You can see that they even built them on their territory on the north part of Ukraine. They do afraid that Ukraine might go to Belgorod, Kursk, or maybe Voronezh, who knows. You probably know Sturkov, the Russian war criminal, and he says that just before the Ukrainian counterattack on the south, Ukraine might go to Belgorod to deflect the attention of the Russian forces. Well, I don't really think so, but anyways, it is the possibility. As you can see, they accumulate lots of the defense lines near to Melitopol. They do afraid that the Ukrainian army will try to get the Melitopol under their control and move forward to Crimea. You can see they also constructed lots of the heavy defense lines near to Crimea. About Donetsk and nearby urban territory, they do not require the defense lines. You can see the bridges over there, but the city, the urban construction itself is a huge defense line. And here we see just the new fortifications, but Russia was building the defense lines for a long time and self-proclaimed republics as DPR and LPR. So I guess it's the suicide mission for Ukraine to go attacking Donetsk or Luhansk. Well, we may try to go over north, over here. It could be possible, but the main strike I think could be on the south, its most preferable direction. And you probably know that there was the spy leak of the interesting confidential information from the United States. And now we understand that the United States have their spies in every Russian military sphere and intelligence. The spies gave the information for the United States about the future attacks, the rocket attacks, etc., and the United States shared this information with the Ukrainian officials. That helped us to destroy the Russian rockets more effectively, and probably that is why Russia wasn't able to destroy the Ukrainian infrastructure. And this year we'll be even exporting our electrical energy to the European Union countries. And what is interesting about the leaks, that the United States knows better about the future Russian actions than about the future Ukrainian army actions. In some of the cases, the United States had to spy on Ukrainians to understand the situation better. Well, it means that Ukrainian army command acts more or less independently. And today Russia blown up one of the bridges in Chernihiv Oblast. It's the north part of Ukraine. I wonder why. Maybe they too afraid of the Ukrainian counterattack on their territory. And more information about the Polish-made Rosomak. You can see it's a nice looking vehicle. A little bit high, but I think it's okay. It has the turret, it has the modern-day control system, and very comfortable seats for infantry. From what I can see, it has the air-conditioned deck that can provide also the cool air or the hot air if needed. And the controls are similar to the normal car, I would say, or maybe to the bus. And this is the China Media Resource. They put this visualization of the Chinese army attack on Taiwan. And just to remind you, Chinese army is now on the military drills around the Taiwan island. And the United States does not exclude that they will use their army on Taiwan in case China tries to invade this island. Well, China may try to do it. Communists do not have brains, but it will not be effective military operation. It would be disaster for China and for the global economy and for the chip production, because most of the chips are being produced in Taiwan. And after this failed try, Communist China will not recover, and there is also the great chance for formatting the Chinese regime. And Chinese really want to make it happen, but they do afraid, especially witnessing how Russia struggles in Ukraine. So my forecast that China will not dare to attack Taiwan. But as I say to you, communists are very stupid and illogical in their decisions. So China now crossed the median line with their exercises and basically surrounded the Taiwan island. It also happened before, the last year, after Pelosi visited the island. So after she left, China launched the military drills again surrounding the island 3 days after Pelosi's visit. And NATO countries will go on a massive military drills in aviation. They will use more than 220 planes. It is the most massive usage of the aviation in the military drills since 1949. And this is the Luftwaffe Airbus A400 with quite interesting German livery. My friends, now please press the like to this video, and if you want to support my job, you may find the link in the video description just below where you can support me on Patreon, or you may join the sponsorship on this channel. Thank you so much for your kind support. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.